All right, hello, this is Alyssa Miller. I'm going to be presenting for you the blended classroom model and the impact on high achieving learners. This is a project I've worked on from January through April of 2020. So some background information about myself. I'm a fifth grade math teacher in a middle school. That means I teach more than one section of math a day. Most of my classes are co-taught with the special education teacher, and a large percentage of the students in those classes have IEPs. This class typically looks like the special ed teacher, myself, and paras heading up different stations throughout the room. The students travel through the stations to complete work with partners, with teachers, and independently. One problem that I've kind of run into with this is that it has been kind of hard to differentiate instruction for my higher level learners when I have such a large percentage of students that need to have their needs met based on their IEPs. So providing on-level instruction to high-level learners in my classroom has been a challenge, and I wanted to find a way to provide my high-level learners with appropriate challenges in order to best meet their needs. So time's been a constraint, and I have been working against that to try to be able to differentiate instructions for high-level learners. I also wanted to find a way to challenge these students in order to increase learning and satisfaction with math. A lot of times before this project started, I saw a lot of students that would need a lot of direction when they finished a project early and they needed something else to work on. And I wanted to find something that would help them to be more independent and to increase their level of learning. So I did some research about 3 different topics. Those topics were motivation, gifted learners, and technology integration. So I found that parental support plays a role in the motivation of gifted students. Gifted students have a higher level of intrinsic motivation than students who are not gifted, and gifted learners are highly motivated to learn. I also found that children that are exposed to accelerated curriculum have higher processing speeds, and that gifted students need the opportunity to work at their own pace in order to maximize learning. And you can see where all that came from in the parentheses after each statement. So I also researched technology integration, and I learned that using technology in the classroom can increase student engagement in learning. Technology can help teachers provide students with appropriate challenges. Using the flipped classroom model maximizes instruction time, and it also allows students to work at their own pace. Online courses should include face-to-face meetings, group work, and independent work. There are multiple types of K-12 instruction online models that lead towards student success. These include the blended classroom and the flipped classroom. And the blended classroom model helps students to self-regulate, take responsibility for learning, and builds motivation. So you can kind of see that I learned a lot about the flipped classroom as well as the blended classroom. So when I went for designing solutions to my problem, the first option I came across was forming a blended classroom. So a blended classroom is a classroom that involves face-to-face instruction as well as online instruction. The students in my classes that need an extra challenge, the high-level learners, will be participating, and the students would engage in learning by using Google Classroom, Khan Academy, as well as challenge packets by Edward Sakaro. The research that supports this is the blended classroom provides students with access to high-level learning and personalized education. Gifted students should be provided with opportunities to collaborate with each other, and Khan Academy has been found to increase the learning of math topics as well as retention of learning. So my second option was the flipped classroom using Google Classroom. A flipped classroom is where students are watching videos about new learning outside of classroom and then applying that learning inside class. My high-level learners would participate, and they would do that by watching videos on Google Classroom before class started, and Google Classroom would be the main resource used. The flipped classroom provides teachers with more opportunities to interact with students as well as for students to work at their own pace. And the flipped classroom will allow students to complete group work and have in-class discussions, and that would increase student satisfaction with learning. My third option was to use a 100% online classroom using only Khan Academy. Khan Academy is a resource online in which the web-based instruction is provided with video tutorials, practice problems, and quizzes, and instant feedback is given to students if they are using that. The selected learners that need an extra challenge would be participating, and they'd participate strictly just by using Khan Academy. It's been found to increase learning of math topics as well as retention of learning, and Khan Academy has some game elements such as badges, instant feedback, and energy points, and gaming elements in online courses have been found to increase student engagement. All right, my choice after looking at all of that research was to use option 1, the blended classroom. It allows students to be challenged at the appropriate level, it allows student choice, and it allows for students to work at their own pace. It uses the blended model, which will encourage strong, frequent, and timely communication, as well as clear expectations of material, honest feedback, and a positive teacher-student relationship. The weaknesses of option 2, the flipped classroom, viewing of lessons would need to be done by specific dates. This limits student choice and flexibility. Not all students have access to technology at home, and it requires more teacher attention during class. The weaknesses of option 3, using only Khan Academy, it limits student choice and creativity, and it's completely computer-based with limited opportunities for student collaboration. So my implementation plan is to use that blended classroom model and meet with students face-to-face for 4 30-minute sessions outside of the general education math class. During that time, I would teach my students about how to use Google Classroom for the blended classroom, how to log on to Khan Academy, as well as give them a pre-test and a pre-survey using Google Forms. And then I would allow my students to go ahead and start working on the assignments that are provided and listed for them on Google Classroom, as well as Khan Academy. So each week, students will complete activities and assignments on Khan Academy, challenge packets from Edward Zaccaro, and additional activities. This will continue for 4 weeks. At the end of the 4 weeks, students will take a post-test and post-survey. A control group will also take the post-test, and additional activities to include a fraction word problem sort by Jennifer Finley and discussion posts on Google Classroom will be provided. So unfortunately, due to the recent pandemic, there's not a lot of hard data available. Most of these results are based on observation. I was able to do 2 weeks of my project instead of 4. Students worked hard to complete all of their assignments. They reported that they enjoyed having an extra challenge to work towards when they were finished with their other assignments, and students needed less direction from the teacher for early finisher activities because all of their challenge work was laid out on Google Classroom and clearly explained to them there. So students occasionally chose to work with their peers to complete challenge activities. Teacher feedback was easily provided, and students turned in their packets for the teacher to review after finishing each section, and students received instant feedback from Khan Academy. And you can see some of that feedback listed over to the side. It shows the percentages that students were getting on certain assignments. This is an example of the challenge packet that a student completed. You can see my feedback. The ones that are circled were incorrect. She went back, made corrections, and I made a smiley face when she had everything correct. She also did talk with me and her peers in order to clear up anything that was confusing there. So I gave the students the survey at the beginning. This is how they felt. So at the beginning, most students on all of these, 1 is the least and 5 is the greatest, they felt about a 2 on a scale of 1 to 5 for being challenged during math. Most students felt pretty happy about being in math class. Most students preferred traditional lessons with technology. Most students felt bored sometimes during math class, with some of them always feeling bored. And most students agreed that they were neutral at math, and some thought they were good. So unfortunately, students were not able to complete a post survey, which would have given me a lot of information, and they weren't able to complete a post test. Additionally, the pre-test data is not available because it's in the locked school building, but I can conclude from observations that student engagement and satisfaction with learning increased as a result of the implementation of the blended classroom. So I found that high-performing students should be allowed to work at their own pace. Some students completed the challenge work more quickly than others. The use of Google Classroom and Khan Academy gave students choice about when they completed their assignments. And these findings align with the research of Dewan and Smedshred. Using a blended classroom model also allows high-performing students to have access to on-level instruction and increases student engagement in learning. So students gained access to on-level instructional materials. They knew what they were supposed to do when they got done. They worked out problems on whiteboards and collaborated with peers and asked teacher questions when they were stuck. These findings align with the research of EM. Lastly, challenging high-performing students at their level increases student satisfaction with their learning. If I were able to see the post-survey results, I believe that students would report feeling more challenged, feeling happier about math class, and would report feeling bored less often. This prediction aligns with the research of Morgan. So my project strengths and weaknesses. The plan was well followed and few adjustments had to be made. Students reacted well to the plan and were eager to participate. And the plan required a lot of upfront teacher preparation, but once the plan was in place, little teacher time was required during class. For weaknesses, the time provided for students to complete challenge work was not always enough. There's limited data available to me due to restrictions put in place due to COVID-19, and the sample size of this project is small. So technological solutions in today's classroom, technology should be considered to help solve everyday problems. Examples of issues that could be solved using technology include communication with parents, tracking student data, differentiating instruction, and distance learning. Classroom problems can be solved using this process. Begin by identifying the problem and doing background research. Next, come up with possible solutions that are supported by research. Choose a solution and make decisions based on research about how to implement it. And then after implementation, researchers should compile data, make conclusions, and use those conclusions to make data. And this thing that I'm talking about here is using the AIP research process to problem solve. So the benefits of using that is it's research-based. There's multiple solutions that are proposed and backed up by research. Results are backed up with data, and AIP allows for researcher reflection and future recommendation, as well as findings can be implemented into the classroom immediately. Another benefit of using the AIP process is that it's much better than diving in and using the latest trend in technology for education. The process ensures that decisions are made based on research and that the results are analyzed in a methodical way. The process also saves educators time. Rather than trying multiple approaches, the educator can be sure that they are making the best decision for students because of background research that's been completed. Final thoughts, the AIP research process has been amazing to see how the research really did back up the project that I completed, and I was able to see it take off and do very, very well. I love doing this project with my students, and I am excited to do something similar with my students in the fall. Overall as a class, I have really enjoyed this class. One thing that I have taken away right now using the class discussion boards. A lot of talk went on those about using Seesaw, and I've just been excited that I'm taking this class during this time because I've been able to implement the ideas that I've read on there into my online class right now, which has been amazing. So that is all I have for my final thoughts. I'll leave you with a bibliography here, and that is all I have for you. Thank you.